أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبا القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى يوم الدين. We dedicate tonight's lecture to Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam, one of the Imams that we call him Babul Hawa'ij. He opens the gates of our needs. And remember that tawassul and beseeching this Imam that suffered many years in prison and was tortured in prison, mu'adhab fi qa'r as-sujun. He was tortured in the bottom of prison, dungeons. This torture that happened to him caused this blessed soul of his to become Babul Hawa'ij. Maybe some of you have visited his shrine in Baghdad or Kadhimiyya, connected to Imam Jawad's shrine. And you understand that many of the problems that you have will be unraveled with thinking about Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, the seventh Imam. So take his tawassul and majalis very seriously. 25th of Shahr Ramadan is one of those sad days. We anticipate millions going to Kadhimiyya because the people of Iraq, they really appreciate the ziyarat Imam Kadhim, and they understand that there's a lot of miraculous events that happen in his shrine. Sometimes you have in history that even Sunni ulama would visit the grave of Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam. They say every problem I would have would be fixed by visiting him. So why don't we, the Shia, do tawassul and ziyarat of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam? The topic that we've been going over for a while is about Islamic ethics, especially about ethics and the Holy Quran. From the conclusion or reviewing the previous lectures, we had a little break because of the Mawlids of the month of Rajab. But we said that whatever a person does good for himself. And that if a person wants to reach ethical enhancement or ethical development, it is up to themselves. Allah grants us blessings and potential, but it is up to for ourselves to struggle and to sacrifice and to allow ourselves to reach the highest levels of perfection. Mankind loves kamal and perfection, has hubbul kamal. Do you look at your own self and your own life and look at the fact that whatever you do, you wish to become the best at it? I want you to think about what you like. What are your hobbies? What are the sports you play? And the fact that whenever you learn a new skill, you play a new sport, you're always trying to excel at it and become better. If it's soccer, for example, you look at the greats and you see how they, for example, play soccer, and you say, myself, I say, I want to become like them. And you practice, why? To reach perfection. If you study or in your careers, your job, you always try to enhance yourself, become better. This is called hubbul kamal, and it's in all of us. Would you agree with me? That if you read one book, usually it's not sufficient. You say, I want more knowledge. And you want to learn everything. Because mankind is inherently seeking perfection, seeking kamal. So when we have this drive in us, this causes us to reach spiritual perfection, because Allah placed kamal and this love of kamal for us so that we can seek Him, because the journey between us and God is infinite. And unless there's hubbul kamal in you, you don't try to excel or to become better. So the problem that we have is this: if you look at society today, everyone loves perfection. Everyone loves development. But the problem is with the materialist. They try to seek perfection in this world only. And they try to be, for example, the most handsome person, or the most beautiful lady, for example. Or they try to be the richest of people, or the most powerful of people, because God put in us hubbul kamal. But instead of taking this in spirituality, in developing ourselves and becoming the most perfect of humans, we understand that we have mistaken this inherent desire in us, and now we're trying to seek and become the greatest. You ever see, for example, in the news, who is the most richest person on earth? One day the stock goes up, one day the stock goes down, they change. So we're always measuring people by kamal, but we don't tell each other who is the most spiritual, who has the most taqwa, who has the most Islamic knowledge, for example. These are traits that we should be doing musabaqa, or we should be racing each other to try to see who is the best when it comes to piety, who is the most learned, who is the most just, who is the most fair. So when you think of Islamic ethics, what drives you to study Islamic ethics and become an ethical person is inside you already. That everyone has a drive to seek perfection. But the problem of this is that there's this concept of ghafla, of negligence, of forgetting. Dear brother, dear sister, it is so hard for us to be mindful of all the aspects of human life. Sometimes you say, I am mindful of prayer. I pray. But at the same time, I forget my duty to my parents. Sometimes I am mindful of parents, but I forget about my neighbor. If you think of it, we have so many duties that all of these need to be fulfilled. We need to be a complete Muslim. And if you do not talk about the topic of ghafla, you're going to miss something. And that's enough for you to fall. For example, I come to the masjid, I pray, I fast. But there is oppression happening, there's dhulm happening. And I forget about the madhloom. I forget about the oppressed. Now that's something that is against you. Your iman is not complete. Or I'm good at everything, but I forget about my parents. I didn't call them. I didn't take care of them. Or sometimes our parents pass away. And I forget today I lived one more day. Did I even make dua for them, or did I forget about them today? Or sometimes when it comes to the Imam of the age, about Imam Mahdi, who is an occultation, I am in ghafla about Imam Mahdi. Did I even think about Imam Mahdi today? Did I even make dua for his reappearance? Did I do anything for him today? So you notice, brothers and sisters, we're full of ghafla. We're full of unmindfulness. We're full of negligence. And this is a disease for us. This is a danger for us. Mankind works very hard. Quran mentions there are those that work hard. They think they do something, but they have done nothing. Their entire life, if you look at American culture in general, Americans work hard. I've been to other countries where they say they work very, very hard. I visited them. And actually, it was lunchtime, I saw them taking naps. In America, you don't take 2-hour naps. For example, your boss will fire you. You can take a nap, but then after you wake up, you'll see you get fired at the end. When you wake up, you'll see a letter come in and that's it. People work hard in this country, right? I mean, at least before COVID, people were working very hard. Now everyone's online, mashallah, just clocking in online. But people used to work very hard. The problem is we work hard, but we're not doing anything. Why? Because we're unmindful. We forget. We forget that I should have made this intention for God. I should work for God. I am unmindful of God. I should have made my intention for God. I'm going to work every day, but I forgot to say, God, I am doing this for you, so I can make that ibadah, that worship. I have wasted 8 hours of my life, 2 hours drive to, 10 hours, maybe a few hours for overtime or whatever, lunch. I've wasted all of it, And I said, I worked hard, but I said, I could have made it so easily for God by just making that intention. Why do you think we're so ghafil? Why do you think we're so unmindful? I ask you right now, you lived from the morning until now. How many actions did you do? How many decisions did you make? Really, honestly, I'm telling myself this. How many of them were for God? How many? And what happens if an action is not for God? Does it count? Does it really count or not? You did it for who? Maybe it was in the back of your mind, but was it fresh in your mind that I'm going to do this action for God? That's the difference, I think, with the greats, the ulama, the urafa, those that reach a high position. They're always thinking of God. وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ. God is with you wherever you are. And they live a life of ma'iyyat. Ma'iyyat means ma'a in Arabic means they're with companionship with God. They're always with Him. They asked, one of the greats in spirituality, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Qadi Tabatabai, and they ask him, is it true all these things that you do in your life that they say, maybe you have this special relationship with God, you have, sometimes they see karamat and special du'as being answered from Him. Is it true they say this in your relationship with God? He says, how can it not be true? I have been living with God for 40 years. I have been living with God. Have we lived with God? How do you live with God? Morning is for God. Noon is for God. Afternoon is for God. Sleep is for God. Eating is for God. Talking is for God. Being quiet is for God. I'm not saying from now on tomorrow change completely everything, but I'm just telling you how much work there is to be done and how much we have forgotten God. It takes a heart. Some people ask me, how can I be more mindful? It takes a heart that is alive. A dead heart forgets God. A heart that is alive remembers God. Imam Ali alayhi salam mentions in Nahj al-Balagha, وَحْيِ قَلْبِكَ بِالْمَوْعِذَةِ. Give life to your heart with maw'idha and admonition and advice. Read Quran. Quran is the best maw'idha. Give life to your heart again. Read Hadith. It gives life to your heart. Come to speeches, not mine necessarily, but those that talk about Hadith. It gives life to your heart. Actually, one of the signs that a person is ghafil, it says that they do not come to the masjid anymore. How are you going to survive in America? How are you going to survive in the West when you're going to think and go to work and see all your friends, and for the entire week you're all alone, no Muslims around you, for example, and you're thinking that I'm going to remain a good Muslim all by yourself when you don't come to the masjid, you don't come to the center. The center is a place of remembrance, because especially this is a masjid actually. If you separate yourselves from the masjid, or separate yourselves from the lectures, separate yourself from the advice, your heart will die. Imam Ali says, give life to your heart again with a maw'idha. You need advice. I remember when we went to the Hawza, to the seminary. Our teacher, akhlaq teacher, Ayatollah Mushtaidi, or Sheikh Ahmad Mushtaidi, would give us a hadith. He would come daytime in the Hawza and give us life again. Would give a hadith for us, and we would remember that and teach us. And then he would say, come again at nighttime, and I'll give you another hadith. And then you would write that down. He would even have it translated into different languages then. And you translate it, you say it, you'd write that. Then after a while, you would have a book this big of hadith every night teaching you. If a person has a teacher like that every night, every day, you have a true scholar, and they're giving you hadith from Ahlul Bayt, would a person be forgetful? So we have separated ourselves from Ahlul Bayt by their traditions. We have separated ourselves from the Holy Quran because we don't study the Quran. Sometimes we just read it as to make sure I just do this many pages or this surah is finished, and I don't even think about it. I'm even ghafil when I'm reading Quran. God forbid, I'm speaking to myself. Sometimes we pray. We pray and we feel like sleeping and slumber. And salat for me is actually relaxation and a little sleep. I'm just thinking, and subhanAllah. Oh, what rak'ah was it? What's going on? Sorry. Or sometimes I call this salat becomes lost and found for me. How does it become lost and found? I think, oh, is the stove, for example, on? Did I lose this key? And I remember it. Salat has nur. You remember where things are. That's the problem. It actually works. You think about other things, and it actually is very effective. But salat becomes lost and found for you because I think of things that I lost. Even if I want to remember God. So ghafla, the first stage of ghafla is forgetting God throughout my day. This is not for the unbeliever. This is for the Muslim. This is for the person that comes to the masjid. That we are forgetting God every day. We are not a true muwahid. A true muwahid is someone that lives and everything they do is for God because they love Him. In one of the du'as from Sahifa Sajjadiyya, Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam mentions that the reason why people don't pay attention in salat. He gives reasons. And actually, I think it's in Dua Abu Hamza Thamali. He gives reasons why people don't pay attention. I'm talking to myself. One of them is I have done tark and I have left the majlis of the ulama. Perhaps I have left the majlis of the ulama. That's why I don't pay attention in salat. Perhaps it is I have attended the majlis of the ghafileen. And those that forgot Allah, those that you have friends, everyone here. You have people that you know. When you sit together, what do you talk about? Talk about everything but the important things. Everything in the world, talk. And mashallah, this muscle that Allah created that holds us together works perfectly. Even the best companies, they can't design this muscle. It would break, it would snap. No company could design this. This is just, you can prove God's existence by this muscle. And especially in the Muslim community, there are believers that we have, a lot of times we talk so much. Instead of listening, instead of learning, talk. Alhamdulillah, you guys are doing a good job. Let's recite salawat for ourselves right now. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad ala Muhammad wa ajil farj. So the first thing that we forget is ghaflat from of Allah. That is the first thing. Let's look at verses of Quran about this. When you look at the Holy Quran, it mentions those that forget Allah. And we see that this type of ghafla is not acceptable whatsoever. And you see that actually is those that, this beautiful verse, if you want to remember one of the verses about negligence in the Quran, 179. وَلَقَدْ ذَرَأْنَا لِجَهَنَّمَ كَثِيرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ. We have created the hell many of jinn and mankind. They have hearts, لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ بِهَا. They have hearts, but they don't think with those hearts. They don't understand. You have hearts, and you're supposed to understand with these hearts. وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ. And they have eyes, but they do not see with the eyes. وَلَهُمْ آذَانٌ لَا يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا. They have ears. This is the offensive part. This is the part where God calls us livestock, an'am, like cows. Those that don't pay attention, Quran says as if they are cows, livestock. It says those that have hearts, they don't understand. Those that have eyes, they don't see. Those that have ears, and each one of these God created for us to wake up. To wake up from. He says, أُولَٰئِكَ كَالْأَنْعَامِ. They are like the livestock. Then it says, actually they're worse than the cows and the livestock. It says, بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلٌ. Why? Because that poor cow, no offense to him, he's doing what he's created for. To eat, sleep. And there's some people go and tip them over for fun because they're just so busy eating or whatever, and it's not nice, but they do that because they're engaged in the life that they have, and that's what they do. They provide milk, they eat and drink. That's what the cows, that's its kamal. But what if a human does that? If a human just eats like a cow and sleeps like a cow and just goes to work like a cow, what happens then? Are they worse than a cow or not? Did they have more potential or not? Yes. So Quran says, Bel hum adal. They're worse. They're more astray. Because you're supposed to be human. But you're God forbid, you're like livestock. Ulaika humul ghafilun. There are those that are heedless. They forgot, why am I created? Where's my creator? I look at the stars, the galaxies, the great mountains, this storm that's coming, this atmospheric river that's coming, for example. And you say, subhanAllah, some of these atmospheric rivers that maybe some people, they didn't come to the masjid tonight, they're afraid of the storm, maybe, I don't know. They say sometimes it's 500 miles wide, 2,000 miles long. It holds as much moisture as a Mississippi River. One of the biggest river in the U.S., this atmospheric river that is coming towards us soon, inshallah. This is the creation of God. How did you put the entire Mississippi River in moisture in the air? Actually, scientists say 25 times more than the Mississippi River is in the air, the amount of vapor there is there. We'll see. Remember, when it's raining heavily tomorrow night, think of what I'm saying, think of the speech. Say, Allah, you've created this power. How much moisture can this entire river be in the air? How capable are you? How powerful are you? Then I have eyes, but I don't use that. I see this atmospheric river, but I don't think, who created this? Who is sustaining, who is giving all this water to give life to earth? So I am of the ghafilin, God, because I don't connect the dots. The muwahhid looks at these beautiful things and says, Allah, I love your creation, you're so powerful. So you're so powerful, then you'll take care of me, right? When someone is very strong, when someone has all the power, endless power, you say, I'm in good hands. Because Quran mentions, is God not sufficient for you? Do you want a stronger God? Someone else that's more capable to protect you? Then why don't you have tawakkul? If God is so powerful to bring this, and you know nothing is of chance, He knows because He's wise. He knows where to put this moisture, where to put this storm, where to put a drought. You say, Allah, you're powerful, you're wise, and you're merciful. I'm in good hands. I don't even need to worry about anything anymore. Why? Because I remember Him. I use my eyes and ears and heart for God. But then a person that just looks at this, okay, storm's coming. They don't mention God at all. They look at the creation, but they don't think of the Creator. Anytime you look at something, for example, something is like this iPad, you say, wow, look at this company. They're so smart, they designed it. I look at a painting. I say, look at that painting, for example, how great that painter is. I look at a watch that I have. Who designed this watch? But how come when it comes to creation, I forget God over and over and over. I look at the billions of galaxies in the Milky Way galaxy, billions of stars. I look at the billions of galaxies that each one has how many stars? And I forget about God. This is not fair. This is not right. A believer should look through the lens of Allah and look at everything and see Allah's creation, His hand, His rububiyyat. He's guiding everything. He's organizing everything. And then I say, I submit to Him. When all the planets and stars have submitted to God, why would I not submit to Him? This is the problem. We're ghafil of this. We're neglectful of this. I remember a tradition that my teacher would share all the time. And this is a reality. An-nasu niyam, hadith. From Imam Ali. An-nasu what niyam? What does niyam mean? Sleep. Everyone woke up, alhamdulillah, right now after that. فَإِذَا مَاتُوا انْتَبَهُوا. When they die, they wake up. When they die, they wake up. People are asleep. People don't know what's going on. Sleeping means they're ghafil. They're completely, a person that's asleep, you could poke him, you could put shaving cream on them. You could put shaving cream on their hand and scratch their nose and they hit it. They don't know. They don't pay attention. But what happens when they wake up? Then they're looking at everything. They pay attention. We're asleep. All of us, if we really look at it, we're asleep. We're in slumber. We're not even awake. When we die, we wake up. Oh, it's over now. The test is over. God gave me 70 years. 40 years is over. Now let me come back to this world. Now you cannot come back anymore. Now let me come back, do some more hasanah, do some good. Let me go back and fix. I owe that guy some money. I did some dhulm to him. I did some haqqun nas. You can't come back anymore. When they put us in the grave, we die, they put us in the grave, Then we say, oh no, everything Masjid al-Nabi kept telling me, all these different speakers told me it was all right. Now it's too late. What are you going to do then? So people are asleep. النَّاسُ نِيَامٌ فَإِذَا مَاتُوا انْتَبَهُ. When they die, they wake up. So wake up before they make us wake up. Wake up and do something for yourselves. Do something for your hereafter. So the first stage of ghafla is the ghafla that we see, that people are kal-an'am. They are like cattle. They don't pay attention because they have forgotten God. And this is a big disease. And this is for everyone. Myself, I'm saying. Because the highest level is someone that's mutadhakkir, always remembering God. Throughout the day, all their intention. That's why if you want to notice a person that has real good patience, if you want to see someone that works at the masjid and never gets upset, is a person that works for God. If they don't work for God, and you tell them, why did you do this? Why did you do that? They get very upset. Or you don't mention them sometimes. You don't mention them because sometimes they're doing it for people, for riyah. But a person that is humbly working for the masjid all the time, and you criticize them a little bit, you give them a little tough time, they don't get upset. Why? Because I'm not looking for my reward from you. I want my reward from God. You tell me or this, I don't care. And if I demote them, or if you take away that position, they say, alhamdulillah, I have less responsibility now. Because Allah I will be less responsible for the creation of God. The second part that I want to talk about is ghafla of humanity. Sometimes we forget our capability. Sometimes we forget who we are. The greatest creation of God. The creation that the angels were criticizing God. Why did you create such a person? He's going to spill blood. إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. I know something you don't know. Then Adam came, and the angels were commanded to do sujood to Adam, Prophet Adam. And the narrations say Allah commanded for the angels to do sujood because we, Ahlul Bayt, were in the dhurriya or in the soul, we are the progeny of Prophet Adam alayhi salam. The angels in reality did sujood to us, Ahlul Bayt, because they knew the most perfect of humans would come. Because Allah knew I created Adam, but not like everyone else, because this Adam is different. This Adam oppresses, this Adam hurts, harms people. But there will be this beautiful and perfect Adam that will be the family of the Prophet. This is our potential. We forget. Quran mentions about this type of forgetting. Very interesting verse. وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ. Quran says to us, it's not me, Allah is speaking to you. Sometimes we forget this is Allah's words. Do you want to know how God is like? Read what He says. That's how He speaks. That's how you know God. وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ. Do not be like those who forget God. Mufassirin say about this verse, if you want to write it down, 59:19. 59:19. Mufassirin and commentators of Quran say about this verse, do not be like those that forget God, because for us, we can see those that forget God. For us, we can see them, and it's something that we can actually look at and observe. Can you right now, if I ask you, show me a group of people that have forgotten God? Very easily. Just go to streets, for example, in Los Angeles area, say they have forgotten God. Cities that you go to, for example, in America, you say for sure, this city or this part of this, for example, city, they have forgotten God. It's very obvious. When someone forgets God, they go into corruption. They go into fasad, right? You go into places of fasad. It's very tangible for us. So Quran says for us, always gives examples that we can relate to. Do not be like those that have forgotten God, which is, if you look at a lot of the population on earth is like this. Don't be like them. And it says, what happens if you become like those that have forgotten God? كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُمْ. And God made them forget themselves. How does someone forget themselves? Who can answer this question? How do you forget yourself? It can be one of the commentators or ulama says it can be this, that you forget that you are a human. You forget your potential. You forget your capability, insan. You thought you're just eating and drinking like an animal. You're not an animal. You're ashraful makhluqat. You're the highest of creation. You forgot you're a human. You forgot that your hurma, that God has placed your sanctity. The believer's sanctity is higher than the sanctity of the holy Kaaba. The sign of Islam. It is the most, we can say, place we should give the most respect. One of the places we should give most respect is the holy Kaaba in Mecca. And Allah says, you are more holy than this Kaaba. You have more honor than this Kaaba. A lot of times when you think about it and you want to raise children, or you want to do tarbiyat of someone, always tell them what kind of potential you are, who you are. Give worth to them. If you tell your kid, for example, look, you come from this kind of family, you come from this, you give worth to that kid won't go towards corruption. He says, oh, I'm somebody. Why would I go with this group, for example? They do drugs, they are bad. He says, look at your family, who you are. Give him importance. Give him honor. And that kid will not go towards, he will not humiliate himself. So insan, in the same way, when God says, I have breathed into you from my own soul to you, obviously God doesn't have any physical presence, but we say that insan is so important, man is so important, that God has breathed into his own soul, meaning he is connected to God. So if you want to understand one part of ghafla, the second part, and maybe we'll be ending tonight's speech, I don't want to make it too long, is that I have forgotten what a human being is all about. Because, and this is not all of our fault, a lot of this is during the Renaissance, that they have taken humans that were actually had an important value, humans that were connected to God, as religion says, the most important creation of God. Then they said, you know what, humans actually, the center of humans is not God anymore. Humans should actually think about their desires now. And then later on, evolution came, and the theory of evolution came. You know what? Human beings came from a bunch of monkeys and apes. Because they came from monkeys and apes, their tail fell off. They're very hairy. They used to jump a lot, and they jump less. And now they're bashar, they have skin, for example. So when you think about, I'm just an advanced ape. Again, there's a way that you can believe in evolution in a way, if you want to escape from the fallacy of saying that you have to necessarily believe. You can believe in, for example, God-guided evolution. God-guided evolution is a way that God created this form and then allowed evolution to happen. He makes things in stages and then gave the most important part of insan, his spirit, into this form. But that is different than when I put God completely out and I say that man is just an evolved, organism that has no spirit. Man has no capability. It's just more intelligent. And I define man, even, the ancient Greek, they would define man, even though this is very important for us, is insanun natiq, for example. It's the speaking animal, the intelligent animal. They define man as this. This is good. It's in our books of logic. Man is more smart. But is that it? Is that all the capability? We're just smarter. We speak. We talk. Animals talk, some of them. If you find out today, in reality, many species of animals, they speak to one another. They actually fish. They warn one another. Some of the studies they did, they saw that actually reefs, coral reefs, that there were, for example, boats making a lot of noise. They saw that these fish would go into more harm's way. How? Because the sound of the engine of the boat would not allow these fish to communicate to one another. Well, afterwards, inshallah, yes. So therefore, even animals talk. Is that it? It's good. It's good for us to talk. But is that the only difference between us and animals speaking? Is the only different aspect is our intelligence? That's very important. I talked about importance of intelligence and ethics. But is there something else about humans that animals don't have? And one of our philosophers gives us very beautiful definition that man, put that insanu natiq away. He says, put that definition away that the Greek have, and it has come into our books. He says, make this definition, hayyun muta'allih. This is the definition of man. Hayyun muta'allih, meaning man is the genus. The genus is that, all-incorporating part in logic, that when you want to define someone, the genus of man is al-hayy, or hayyun, is alive. Who can think, why is man alive? Why do you define us as being alive? Why do you think so? Because we never have death. After creation, there's no real death for us. There's no annihilation for us anymore. Is there death or not? Yes or no for us? There's only transfer. But that spirit does not have annihilation. That spirit is always alive. All it does is it transforms, goes to the grave, and is alive in the grave. Then the trumpet is blown by Israfil, this angel, and then we're all alive again. And then there's two ways for us, two ways only. Heaven or hell. Heaven or hell. That's it. And we're alive forever in heaven. We're alive forever in hell. There's no death for us. There's no annihilation. I'm sorry, that's it. Even if some that nobody really wants annihilation except the dwellers of hell. They want annihilation. They wish that there is death. ثُمَّ لَا يَمُوتُ فِيهَا وَلَا يَحْيَا. There's a hell that there's no death in it. And they cannot be born again and come to this world. So the first part of insan, if you really think who we are, is hayy. We're alive. There's no annihilation for us. So does that mean I should be careful what I do to my spirit? Some ask, why are the punishments of God forever? Why is the reward of God forever? Because you are harming or you're helping your spirit. And whatever you do to the spirit lasts forever. If you do something to the body, it lasts until I'm alive, 70 years, 100 years. But if I harm my spirit, that spirit is going to be with me for an eternity. Therefore, the reward and punishment of God is for an eternity. So the second part is hayyun. The first part is hayy, we're alive forever. The second part is muta'allih, meaning that we are divine, we are connected to God. Ta'alluh means that we worship Him, we're connected to God. This is this differentiate of man and everything else that is alive. The difference from us is that we have this capability to worship God. What a beautiful definition this has, and just saying man is just an intellectual creature, meaning man is the living creature, always alive, that worships God. And once man worships God, what happens to man? That is his tarfi and his elevation is by worshiping God. And if he forgets about God, if he does not do dua, so Quran mentions, if they do not do dua, man does not have worth for God. If they don't pray to God, they don't have worth for God. If you do not worship Him, you don't have any worth, because your worth, you have been created to worship. And you never worshipped anyone but yourself. So this is the second part of ghafla, and as we forget who we are, we forget our potential. We forget that actually if you really worship God, God will give you izzah, God will give you honor. If you truly worship Him, God will give you a good life. If you submit to Him, you will be elevated. Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam the Imams were like this. They would wake people up from ghafla. Some people, they have problems with ideology and beliefs. That's harder to fix. If I have a problem with aqa'id and beliefs, I don't believe in God anymore, I don't believe in the hereafter, it's fixable, but it's harder. Some people, they believe. They, in the back of their heart, say, God exists? Yes. Hereafter exists? Yes. Quran is a miracle? Yes. Who's your prophet? Yes. I just forget. I have ghafla. Those people are easier to fix. Would you agree with me? That's easier when a person, when his behavior is just wrong, you could fix that easily. But if a person's belief is wrong from the core, that's hard to fix. The Imams, they would waken people up, but especially it's very easy for them to wake people up that believe in the Imams, love the Imams, respect them, but the dunya, you know how it is, entraps us, it allures us. We start sitting. Look at the story of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam with Bishr al-Hafi or Bushra al-Hafi. Al-Hafi in Arabic, those that know, it means what? Barefooted, right? The barefooted one. What is the story of the barefooted one? Once Imam Kadhim alayhi salam in the city, I'm sure you've heard this story, but let's say it again. Remember, this is one of the important stories of Imam Kadhim's life, how to wake people up. This person was enjoying a party of corruption, not a normal gathering, a gathering of corruption. The Imam is walking by, and the Imam has duties of waking people up and taking them away from negligence and unmindfulness. This person had a servant, a slave, and asks that slave a question so that slave can ask the owner of the house or the owner of the party. He says to him or to her, the owner of this house, is he, for example, just paraphrasing, a free man or a slave? Free man or a slave? And that person goes, Imam goes and walks. Is he a free man or a slave? That's it, one sentence. Is he a free man or a slave? This slave servant gives information. He asks the person that was in charge of the party, says, who is this man? Because he knew Imam Kadhim alayhi salam had this respect. What did he say to you? He was observing. What did he say? He says, he asked this question. Maybe I don't understand. He asked this question, are you a free or a slave? Are you free or are you a slave? And obviously, a slave does not have all their friends over in such a gathering because they can't afford it. They're not allowed to do it. Obviously, he's free. But he meant something else by this. This person understood. He comes running towards the Imam with barefooted. He didn't even take time to take off his shoes. He comes towards Bab al-Hawa'ij, Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, running towards him and saying, I'm a slave. I'm a slave. I'm a slave. Why? Because he understands if he was free, that means he's free to do whatever he wants to do. And he missed the fact, one reason you can understand this story is he missed the fact of being an abd of God. Because a slave of God does not sin like this. So you must be free. So you're free to do whatever you want. You don't have a Mawla anymore. You don't have a Lord. But that person that is a servant of God, is an abd of God, has a Mawla, has a Lord. Therefore, he doesn't do whatever he wants. So he rushes towards the Imam mentioning that I am a slave, I am a slave, I am a slave. So the Imam, with one piece of advice, a sentence of wisdom, wakes up that ubudiyat in being a slave and servant and this person that everyone misses. Because those that believe have a Mawla, have a Lord. And those that do not believe, they don't have a Mawla. Aren't you happy to have a Mawla, to have a Lord that you listen to, that you submit to? We can dim the lights a little bit. We'll do tawassul to Imam Kadhim alayhi salam. This Imam that for many years, 10, 14 years, was in the prison. How can they take an Imam and put this Imam in prison? We see that this ziyarat that our dear brother read, this ziyarat actually, this visitation of the Imam, has words in it that most visitations don't have. One usually, besides ziyarat Ashura or ziyarat for Imam Hussein in the ziyarat of Karbala, usually for the Imams, you don't have the details of what happened to them. But you see about Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, when we sacrifice to this Imam, that they tried to extinguish his light by putting him in the deep dungeons of prison. Mention that the Imam that is wal mu'adhab fi qa'r as-sujun, the Imam that is mu'adhab. Mu'adhab means to be tormented, to be punished, to be tortured. Dear brothers and sisters, your Imam was, according to this ziyarat, was tortured in prison. Not only was prison enough, they would hit him, they would whip him, they would abuse him in prison. The Imam of the age of that time. Where fi qa'r as-sujun, prison, imagine locking up a holy imam. But that is not enough, putting him in the deep dungeons, the places of prison where there is no light anymore, where you cannot tell when is it Fajr, when is it Dhuhr, when is it Asr. This is what befell Imam Musa, Kadhim alayhi salam. وَالظُّلَمِ الْمَطَامِرِ. Matamir comes, some say, from a humid place, a dark place, because Iraq is full of rivers and full of water. And when you dig deep and you get closer to water, that area becomes very humid. The very dark and dungeon of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, that in the ziyarat mentions that he would do sujood al-tawil, he would do long prostrations. He would worship God so much and was so frail that they would only see an Abba coming in sujood, coming in, for example, ruku. I apologize for saying this, but that is not enough that they did to Imam Kadhim in this ziyarat. It mentions, وَذِسَاقَ الْمَرْدُودِ بِهَلْقِ الْقُيُودِ. They locked up your Imam. He is the one whose leg was bruised by the rings of chains. Imagine being in a prison cell, that you cannot even move in your prison cell, that your leg is locked up by chains. God forbid, I apologize for saying this, that they do not even do this to an animal. They do not even lock up an animal. When they put them in a cell, they free them. But Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, his legs were chained up so much that his legs were bruised by the chains, and whose funeral was called with calls of humility and belittling. And when they poisoned Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, they came and disrespected him during his funeral. This is part of the dhulm of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. And this is some of the tragedy that befell the life of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam according to this ziyarat. Ya Allah, we ask you, because of Bab al-Hawa'ij, many of you have different prayers you want answered. You have family members that are waiting for your du'as. May Allah grant you all of your hawa'ij. May Allah give shafa and the cure to all of those that are sick. May Allah relieve oppression upon all of those that are oppressed, those that are starving in Gaza, throughout the entire world right now. May Allah remove their affliction, inshallah. May Allah grant us victory, inshallah. May Allah grant us the Imam of the age, expedite his return and make us of his sincere followers. May Allah make us of those that are mindful and mutadhakkir and remember Allah, remember the hereafter, remember who we are, inshallah, with his salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajal farjahum.